Jewish Channel's Week in Review. One of the biggest corruption busts in history nets a number of rabbis. The Jewish angle on these alleged crimes you won't see anywhere else. Victims of Israeli terror are supported by triathletes, perhaps the most right-wing gathering on the Israeli political scene right here in America, and more of the Jewish news that's changing your world in this webcast version of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. The biggest news to hit the Jewish world in the past week was the arrest of 44 individuals, including several New Jersey mayors and a number of rabbis, as part of a sting operation targeting activity ranging from money laundering to organ trafficking. We've read all of the reports and done our own investigations and are here to present you with the most important Jewish angles in this story. Some of the most significant Jewish revelations have yet to be reported elsewhere and come from sworn statements of FBI agent Robert J. Cook, who led the investigation. What these statements allege is that numerous rabbis, synagogues, and schools are involved in a network of tax evasion and money laundering that is both wide-ranging and pervasive within coalitions of some religious nonprofit groups that aren't required to file financial disclosure forms with the IRS. The criminal complaints list 4 different rabbis and not the 5 rabbis that have been claimed in many news reports. Regarding Rabbi Saul Kassin, considered by many the chief rabbi of the Syrian Jewish community, the sworn statements allege a money laundering and tax evasion operation that dealt in hundreds of thousands of dollars a week. These types of criminal money laundering operations are used by individuals seeking to hide assets or income. The individual writes a check to one nonprofit organization. That organization then writes a check for the same amount, less a commission, to either another nonprofit or the first individual, depending on how many steps the individual wants the money to go through to best hide his money while not losing too much in commission. In the sworn statements, the 87-year-old Kassin is quoted demanding a 10% commission on various transactions. On one alleged transaction on October 24, 2007, involving $25,000, a cooperating witness is quoted making the wrong estimate of Kassin's commission. The sworn statement then says, "Defendant Kassin interjected, 2,500 you mean?" A meeting in February 2008 is described at Kassin's home in Brooklyn, where a money laundering gathering is alleged to have been taking place. According to the sworn statements, 4 individuals were gathered around Kassin's dining room table, all apparently there to exchange a number of checks with Kassin, including one individual who appeared to be Israeli and was overheard telling Kassin in Hebrew that he needed to do exchanges for an envelope full of checks he'd brought with him. At several points, Kassin is quoted as questioning the source of monies used in the sting operation because he was trying to be, quote, careful. In the sworn statements, the government's informant, another Orthodox Jew, was able to reassure the rabbi about the money by saying it was the result of criminal operations. Some of the money, he claimed to the rabbi, came from selling counterfeit merchandise. And at another time, he told the rabbi that he was laundering the money to hide assets in a bankruptcy proceeding. At both points, the sworn statements claim these explanations assuaged Kassin's concerns. The allegations against Kassin conclude by declaring, between approximately June 2007 and December 2008, defendant Kassin engaged in money laundering transactions with the cooperating witness, totaling more than $200,000 in funds, represented by the cooperating witness, to involve the proceeds of criminal activities. Some of the most illuminating quotes in the sworn statements are alleged to come from another leading rabbi in the Syrian Jewish community, Rabbi Eliyahu ben Chaim, the principal of a Jewish school. Ben Chaim is quoted explaining how his money laundering operation worked with a co-conspirator in Israel. In June 2007, he's claimed to have said, "He washes money for people. He washes money for people here. He gives me a check, I deposit it from a third party. He give me, I deposit it, I wire it to him. He gives me like 1%. Later, the rabbi is quoted saying he has 100 customers. Real estate investments, they want to hide their money. They don't want it to show. So they give the cash here to him and he gives me the cash. You see the merry-go-round?" Ben Chaim is also quoted revealing the inner world of cash transactions that are the final stage of the money laundering process, and particularly that of one also indicted Jewish man. The school principal is quoted as saying this cash operation could be in Queens, could be a hotel in Manhattan, it could be anywhere. Lately, it's been Borough Park. When Ben Chaim and the cooperating witness ventured to this office in Brooklyn, 3 cash counting machines, dozens of checks, and drawers stuffed with $100 and $20 bills were allegedly visible there. In October 2007, Ben Chaim is quoted boasting of his money laundering exploits, saying, "The most I ever did was $7 to $8 million a year, and that he'd earned $1 million a year in commissions at those times." He's also quoted lamenting that one former co-conspirator had been caught and imprisoned, and that this had reduced his money laundering operation to handling merely $1 to $2 million per year. A third Syrian Jewish rabbi indicted is Rabbi Edmund Nahum of the Deal Synagogue. He is quoted describing the cash flowing between his organizations and Kassin's organizations as frequent, saying, "Of course, back and forth, of course." And the criminal activity is alleged to have included more than just the Syrian Jewish community, but also members of the Hasidic Jewish community, including one Rabbi Mordechai Fish. In the criminal complaints, Fish is quoted using Jewish terminology in planning criminal activity. Where criminals are generally known to have some euphemism for the cash they're moving, Fish and his alleged co-conspirators are quoted referring to units of $1,000 as gemoras, a word used to refer to volumes of the Talmud. Fish is quoted in June 2008 as arranging a transaction by saying, "I'm bringing 55 gemoras, and then I'll see you." In August 2008, he's quoted saying, I got 50 gemoras, and then arranging a meeting on Lee Avenue, which is the heart of Hasidic Williamsburg. When confirming an exchange for money laundering, Fish is alleged to have used another euphemism, stating that at the date and time in question, we'll learn together, a phrase normally used to arrange partnered learning of Jewish text. For community reactions to these allegations against Syrian and Hasidic rabbis, Margie Rauhut went to see what community members were saying on the streets.
Congregation Sheves Achim is a synagogue criminal complaints identify with Rabbi Mordechai Fish, who is indicted for money laundering. However, those at the synagogue in the days after the indictment say he's not the rabbi of the synagogue, but merely a congregant who attends the synagogue as one of many he attends. Nevertheless, they're strong defenders of the rabbi.
Whatever they're saying on the media is all lies, all right? He helped me personally and a lot of my friends, send them to Israel, pull them out of drugs, me personally out of drugs, and out of nightclubs. He made me become religious. He got me pair tzitzit, tefillin, all that stuff. You know, he does a lot of good for people. He's a very righteous man. You know, there's nobody like him over here.
To see how the arrests are changing community members' feelings about crime, tune into the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
To switch tone entirely from alleged criminal activity for which charitable organizations were a cover-up, Rebecca Honig-Freeman found a story about Jews here in America taking on a daunting athletic task to raise money for victims of terror in Israel.
I am here in Central Park at the finish of the New York City Triathlon, where hundreds of athletes showed their endurance in a three-part race, swimming, cycling, and running across Manhattan's West Side. But for one group of participants, the race was also a chance to raise money to help victims of terrorism in Israel. To see how Israeli victims of terror say they're inspired by these triathletes, check out the broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Rebecca. While Israel's Likud party is known as the rough equivalent of America's Republican Party and the party of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, there are also subgroups within it advocating a more specific agenda. Manhigut Yehudit is the right-wing faction within the right-wing Likud party, making it one of the most far-right political groups in the country. They held a conference in America this week, and Christian Needon was there.
The diplomatic topic currently most in dispute between the U.S. and Israel is the question of Jewish settlement growth within the West Bank. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hasn't ruled out building new homes in existing settlements in response to repeated calls from President Barack Obama to do just that. But a growing right-wing bloc within his very own Likud party is advocating for even greater Jewish ownership over the entire West Bank. On Sunday, that group, Manhigut Yehudit, or the Jewish Leadership Movement, held a conference at a Manhattan hotel where group leadership spelled out for over 300 attendees their solution for solving the settlement question.
We have to stop blaming Obama for all of our problems. Stop it. Stop. But it gets better. Stop blaming Obama and stop blaming Hillary and stop blaming Bush and stop blaming, Thomas Jefferson. The problems lie in the leadership in Israel. That is where we need to solve the problems.
To see more from this event, including how the spirit of Rabbi Meir Kahana lives on in this movement, check out the television broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. That's all for this week. For more news and analysis from the Jewish Channel during the week, please check out our blog at newsdesk.tjctv.com. For the full broadcast version of the Week in Review, including additional stories, interviews, and features, please stop by the Jewish Channel on cable. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable, IO Optimum Cable Channel 291, Time Warner Cable Channel 528, Verizon Fios Channel 900, and Cox Cable Channel 1. For more information, visit tjctv.com.